Okay. Looks like we're live. Make sure I have audio here. Does not sound like it. Check, check, check. Check, check, check. Doesn't look like I have audio. Check, check, check. Oh, I do have audio. There we are. Okay, so welcome to live stream, the Retainer Designer live stream. Today we have something special. We are working on a fixed Pontic appliance. I don't know if any of you gals out there do this, but this is for a special case that you'll see in a minute. So let me finish setting up some cameras and I'm gonna roll the intro. Okay, we're back. I just got to make sure that I have audio so y'all can hear me. Oh, San Dental Lab. Hi, how are you doing? Nice to see you, or hear you, or see you on the chat. So, like I said, today we're doing a special case. It's a fixed Pontic appliance. That's the most generic name I could come up with for like search term. There's probably other fixed lingual arch with Pontic attached. It's a pretty simple appliance. Serves a pretty big purpose for most kids. In this kid particular, because I've made an appliance for this kid before. So I have one of these doctors, and y'all comment below. Hey, Luciano Fishborn, Luciano. Hi. I have a doctor. He has an in-house lab, but he sends me these difficult cases every once in a while, which I like. It really challenges me. He's a cleft palate orthodontic. He works a lot with cleft palate patients, so this is one of those cleft palate patients. And he contacted me. He said, "Cade, we're in a holding pattern right now. We need something to fill in a gap." So let me give you a little history on this patient. I've made a mid-face distraction appliance for her. Let me see if I think I pulled up a picture. That is not it. Here we go. It looked like this. So it is actually a night guard or headgear that I bent up in the loops, and these loops, they go near the either side of the nasal, the nostrils, and so they go in there and they cut the jaw and they pull this out. And I believe he said they pulled her forward about 20 centimeters. It was crazy how much they pulled her forward. So it's pretty amazing. This is the design he came up with. As you can see, she didn't have much to work with at the time, but you can see her lip went right here, and then she wore a face halo, and it pulled on this and pulled her upper jaw forward. So I go into the construction of this. I'm going backwards right now, so you actually get to see it backwards. But it's I'll get to the front where you can actually see that it was a labial bow or a headgear thing. So anyway, this is what we started with, and so this is what we're making for her. This is one that I've made before, just a fixed lingual arch on the upper. Adjustment loops aren't necessary. This doctor in this case wanted one, and then a little Pontic attached to the lingual arch. I'm getting into something else. So let's look at what we got now. This is what we have now. So doctor did beautiful work. You saw the patient before. Roy Bear Jose, hi, how you doing? This is what we have now. She is still in class 3, but as you can see, this is her midline, on the lower. This is her midline on the upper. So she is very rotated or turned around. So I wanted to show you this so you see some of the decisions that the doctor made for this case. So we're going to fill in this space right here, and so that she has a nice smile. So while she's waiting for her lower jaw surgery now, so she's already had upper jaw surgery and mid-face distraction. She's now going to have lower jaw surgery and pull her lower jaw into class 1 occlusion. So let me switch and show you the models. Oh, there I am. Kind of scary. You know how you take a picture and it's a selfie and it scares you. Okay, so here is her models. So as you can see, she's still in class 3. And it looks way better than the previous picture. So what we went with this time, the doctor asked, since this is such a big space, and it's actually a space for a lateral, and this is where her cleft was on her, she was a cleft palate. This is where her cleft was right there. Because she's missing this lateral, it's a big wide space, and of course all these are pushed over. So she needs bone graft, she needs surgery, all that kind of stuff. But until then, he was like, hey, since our midline is so shifted, and he drew these midlines on here. Since our midline is so shifted, get another view, let's put a central right here, and it may actually just start looking like central, because the midline here on the lower is actually right there where it would be on the upper, which is the distal of this tooth instead of in between the mesial of the tooth. So I took a central, and I've already ground it a little bit. So I have a little bit of utility wax here. Hi from Romania, Vlad. Oh, nice to see you on the chat. How are you doing? So I used a central. So now you can they can actually prep this and make it look like a lateral if they want. She'll get maybe an implant later, but after surgery, after they straighten her up, it may actually look pretty good. But right now she's here, and we just need something to fill in that gap while we're waiting for her to get her surgery. So let's get designing. Let's remove this. So it's basically a lingual arch. So anybody can do this. If you've done Pontics before and you've done lingual arches, these are just a combined of both of them. Hi from Brazil, prosthetic also. Oh, good. Vlad. Thumbs up. All right. So we are going to run a wire. He wants me to stay away from the centrals. He said those are mobile. That's why they're splinted together. So he doesn't want the wire touching those. But I like to make a little square right here. And now I'm going to use 040. Now most of the time you use 036 for your space maintainers and stuff like that. But I'm going to use 040 just because this is going to be in the mouth. There's going to be a lot of abuse on that, so I'm going to try to keep it pretty stiff. So that's going to be my wire. Now there's a couple ways to go about doing this. Now as you can see, I'll zoom in just a tad. Now as you can see, I drew my wire into the tooth some. So I'm actually going to notch this tooth. Ah. I'm going to actually notch that tooth here in a little bit, and I'm going to place the wire inside that notch, and then we're going to put some tooth colored acrylic behind it, and that's it. So there's a couple ways to go around doing it. You can go ahead and do the notch now, and then you can just bend your wire into that notch, or you can bend your wire now and then grind your notch to match the wire. So whichever way you want to do it, it's up to you. Let me remove this wax off of this tooth real quick. Hello, hug, Hugo, Brazil. Romania, that's cool. Alright, so you can kind of tell I'm going to have a little bit of a difficult time because my wire is going to want to float underneath here, but I'm going to need some retention from this tooth. So I may bend my wire first, and then we'll see how I can notch the tooth to match the wire. So let me get that going and get my appliance here. Back out my zoom. One beautiful thing about doing this live is you get to see my setting up of my cameras. Alright, so I'm going to grab my 040 wire here. Frank, I'm glad to see you again, man. Good evening, everyone. What I'm going to start with is this notch. So I'm going to lay my wire here. I'm going to mark the corners. I picked this up from another doctor. I like to make a square in here, and that gives 4 corners on the wire for the acrylic to wrap around to engage inside the acrylic. So I'm going to put these 4 corners in here. Let me get my bird beaks here. I got this other camera over here so you can see my wire bending. So I'm going to bend to 90, and then I'm going to slide over to this other one and bend to 90. We'll see how that fits in there. Pretty good. I'll be happy with that. Now I'm going to go about middle of the void here. So if middle of this tooth, middle of that tooth. And I'm going to mark where I want this to exit, because they could be different levels of exit out of the acrylic. Let me get this, we can get some of the wire bending in here. Alright, let's check that. So far so good. I'm just gonna bend this around. Yeah, make sure this is straight and level. So let me contour this around. This may not need to very much. Alright. And actually I could probably put a little bend in there. Let me get some Titan 3 prongs. Just to, let me see if I can get a good angle on this. I can see if I can put a little V shape this way. That'll give even more. Yeah, there we go. Just a slight little curve. This will give even more mechanical retention to the acrylic. Zara Dental Lab, Steve's here. Alright. There we go. Again, he didn't want me to get anywhere near the teeth, because that way he could go back into braces if he wanted to, and he doesn't have to worry about, you know, wire on the lingual bothering it. Where's my cutters? There's my cutters. Vlad, for me, good night. Now it's 11 p.m. No, that's 10 p.m. 22 hour. It is 2 o'clock, 2:15 p.m. for me right now. Y'all are time traveling. Alright, so pretty simple, that part. some 3 prongs here. I'm just going to do some adjustments, try to get this wire to go down the way I want. Doctor didn't want adjustment loops. There's no reason to. In this case, there's just a holding appliance until her surgery. There we go. Again, I'm using 040 wire instead of 036 just because she's going to eat in this. It's going to be in her mouth 24/7. They're depending. Now, I don't have to worry about teeth hitting on this side, so I can make it pretty thick because she is in class 3. But again, I don't want to make it too uncomfortable. Alright, so I have this set where I want. I think I like it. It's about where I want it. I'm going to go and trim off. Let me load up my camera angle here. And I'm going to go trim this thing. Sorry about the light in here. I can't get it to work correctly for me. So I'm going to take a stone. I'm just going to prep this solder joint area, taper it down. Saves me time in the trimming part too. Oh, before I do that, I'm almost ready to solder, and once I solder that band or that thing is ready to, you can't really move it again. So I'm going to go ahead and wax in around the teeth. Just to get rid of some undercuts. And then that way I can paint some separator here. So I'm just walling this off, making this a straight wall right here, and this too. Okay. Make sure my tooth still fits, even though the wax is there. Now the doctor said, took a picture of this. He said that's perfect. He can adjust it, you know, as he in the mouth or as he's test fitting it for the best look. You know, he could soften this corner right here if he wanted to. Raccoon Lufa 88. Hello, what's up, bro? Brazil 16:20 p.m. working too. Now, oh wow, yep, burning, as we say, the midnight oil. So as you can see, I'm going to add this here, and it is hitting right there. So now but it looks decent. Like I think I can get this wire tacked down, soldered, and then I can come in and adjust the back of this, put some undercuts, put some famous Steve Zara undercuts in this tooth, and we can get the sprinkling. And sprinkling won't be too much because it's just a little square right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and put separator here before I get the wire tacked down. Did y'all see that? That thing shot, man. Wrong way. Indonesia, 2 a.m. San Dental Lab. 2 a.m. working now. Man, everybody is working. Well, that's good. You are staying busy. You know, my parents used to say, you know, so busy you're staying out of trouble, which is good. Too busy to get in trouble. Alright, where's my little Z-base? I'm going to tack this down with a little of this stuff. I have a video on this. I believe Steve has a video on stuff from American Dental Supply. I'm just holding it in place. Make sure it is it's entering the band where I want it to enter at. As you can see, these are real tilted. I'm having a hard time here. Something went wrong. Reject. Do it again. That's the bad thing about sometimes you gotta, if you don't get it right the first time, well, it gives me an opportunity to put some more separator on here. I meant to do that. It was all on purpose. Y'all saw nothing. You know, you could use wax to tack this down, you know, but with soldering I like to use this cyanoacrylate, this instant set stuff, because it won't melt away. It doesn't have even if you block out with wax, sometimes it will melt, and then your wire shifting, blah blah blah. Lots of fun stuff there. So I'll just put a couple little dots of Z-base on here, and then do an instant setup of that stuff, and there we go. I like that. I got a little space underneath it for acrylic. Check it with my tooth again. Yep, it just needs a little bit of adjustment on the back of the tooth, and I think we're good. So let's get this ready for soldering. Let's see, I got my soldering stuff. Am I the only one on the couch? Yeah, Frank, everybody else is working, man. Usually I catch Frank, he's cooking dinner or something. Mix up my flux. Just take a little bit, put it on my solder joint. I like soldering this now because I get the wire where I want it, and then I just tack it down and I solder in it, and I don't have to worry about it again until I take this whole thing off, and then I can trim everything. Alright. My little syringe thing is out. Oh well. Add a little heat shield. Mainly to protect, and this stuff can still burn away. It burns away a little bit cleaner. It's made to be casted, the stuff I use, so it has a pretty good clean burn, but it won't soften and slump, and your stuff won't move away. Alright, so alright, so what do y'all think? Should I use this torch or this torch? Well, if it starts, oh, there it goes. Woo! Oh, you gotta hold it down. That's the bad thing about this, is you have to actually hold down the trigger to get it to work. I think I overfilled it. Oh yeah, there's a lock on it. This one is obviously made for long term. You can turn it on, and it has a little lock, so you can hold it in different directions. This little dragon thing, you have to hold the trigger down. But I'll try to solder with it. see if it works. Did the doctor tell you how long it's gonna stay in place? I believe 6 months, 6 to 9 months. I believe is what he said. John Inman, thanks for your live stream. Good stuff. Oh, good. Nice torch, dragon. Yeah, dragon torch. That's the best. Actually, I'm gonna turn off some lights here. Hopefully, it doesn't dim too much, so we can see everything. There we go. All right, let's try the dragon torch. Now it won't light. Oh, there we go. My hand's gonna cramp because I gotta hold it down. Woo! If I get a screenshot of that, that's gonna be amazing. Oh, it's not even in the. Woo! I overfilled it. Maybe I can't use the dragon torch. Come on. You can do it. If I blow up, y'all, somebody call 911 or whatever it is. Yeah, I think I messed this up. I overfilled it. Oh, here we go. This'll work. Aha! I had the mixture messed up. As long as I don't move it, it's fine. Oh yeah, once you tilt it. Ah, shoot, I overfilled it. I think that's what's wrong with it. I think it's good. I think we're good. No! I want to solder with this. Dang it! I don't think I can solder with it. Alright, I gotta go with a tried and true. Ah, too bad. I was wanting to solder with that thing. Maybe I can get it to work. It was working fine the other day. I soldered with it. But I guess I overfilled it, and it's not. Some of these torches, they don't like to be overfilled. So this is the solder that I got off of Steve Zara's Amazon page. So I believe if you follow him on Instagram, he's got a link to it in his Instagram description to his Amazon page. So that's where I order it from. There we go. Get a little solder on there. You gotta solder this good because it's gonna be in the mouth for a little while. And hopefully they don't drink too much Coke or pop or soda or whatever y'all call it, wherever you are from. I'm just adjusting the droop on that solder there. And burn my rubber bands. Ouch, that was hot. That was stupid. Trying to adjust the camera here. Trying to get this solder ball to relax. Get onto the band. There we go. Definitely can't look away while you're soldering. It does not bode well for a good solder joint. And notice I'm pointing the flame away from the appliance, because I do have wax over there and it is heating up, I can tell. But also, you got to make sure you heat shield right there between the solder joint and the rest of the wire, because that's going to be, if it's going to break, that's where it's going to break. So you notice I've put the heat shield right up against it and try to run that solder right up against the heat shield, so that way you don't if you overheat that little wire, it's going to become dead soft and it's going to be hard to mess with. So let me go clean this real quick and I'll be right back. Dracarys. Yeah, I figured Frank, it was good for Game of Thrones, if that's your reference. I've only listened to the audiobook of Game of Thrones. I haven't watched. I don't think I've watched any episodes of the show, but I've read the book, so I don't know how things are spelled. I know how they're said. So that's my Game of Thrones reference. But I think who you're saying is it that queen? Dracarys. Alright, here we go. Back into it. Lost some viewers there. They didn't like my dragon torch. So, we have a pretty good... I obviously need to clean that out. Alright, let's move to the other thing here. There we go. Due to the bone loss here, it's gonna be kind of hard to make a notch in there like I want, because the wire is tending to go underneath it, underneath the tooth, the natural slope of the ridge lap area of that tooth. But I'm gonna try to make a notch. There we go. Almost there. There we go. That actually turned out way better than I thought. So it's gotta... Let's see if I can zoom in on this some. So it's up in that notch. I think I'm going to go ahead and make a notch here also. Again, you want to go in and you want to go side to side to make it have an undercut. Same thing with this notch, if you can see that. Go in and work it side to side, and that way there's an undercut. Something for the acrylic to not only have a chemical bond to this acrylic, but to have a mechanical bond too. So see if I can make a little notch down here too. There we go. All right. Okay, I'm back. So here is the tooth. So I keep wanting to set this like a lateral, but the doctor definitely wants this to look like a central as much as possible. Johnny, we use the same rubber band method on our model holder, right? Those stupid springs keep breaking, and I can't get them. I actually bent my own out of ortho wire, but it just doesn't have the spring effect. So yeah, you take a rubber band, wrap it around, go over here, wrap it around, go over here, wrap it around. It works pretty good, except for soldering, because if you start burning the rubber bands, people are gonna get mad because you just stunk up the whole lab. Steve, Denarius. That's who I'm thinking of. Denarius. Steve, thanks. Daenerys is the command she uses for dragons who cook dudes. Kind of like my flame here. That's awesome. Picked this up at a gas station. I couldn't help it. Oh, Johnny, I don't use. Let's see. To use a micro torch, I used to have a hydro flame, and it was owned by the lab I worked for, so I couldn't take it with me. Otherwise, I loved the micro torch, the hydro flame. I call this a micro torch, but I know that they have propane. I didn't want to mess with propane oxygen bottles or anything like that, so I just use this. I don't do much soldering. I don't do near as much like a Steve does. As far as fixed appliances. So now I'm just going to set this Pontic right where I want it. And I'm going to use some sticky wax. I'm not going to use any pink wax on this. Mainly because I'm just going to use tooth colored acrylic, but the patient has a low lip line, like her lip is like there, so you're not going to see this top of this anyway, and I kind of want it to look like it's coming out of the gums and not create some fake gums, but the tooth colored acrylic will actually go in there and fill in the end a little bit right where that's at. So we got a good arch form. I trimmed these back so that they would. So I keep wanting to do this. But again, the doctor wanted to use a central just because that will look like the two front teeth. Just like that. And again, I'm make it level with the other central, and I think we got it. And level with that, and I'll make it look more like a central. If I wanted a lateral, I'll push it up and keep it off of the plane of occlusion a little bit. All right, let me get some tooth colored acrylic here. I'm using T66 tooth colored acrylic. Will you use a silicone key? No, not for this. I think, Frank, what you're talking about is you wax out the gum line here, and then you take I have this lab putty that I put on there, and then you would put the tooth in the silicone matrix and then put it back and then fill it in with pink wax, if that's what I think you're talking about. I won't do that today. I'm just holding it with sticky wax right where I want it, and I'm just going to sprinkle just a little square right there. I want to make sure I incorporate, of course I'll incorporate those two right angles inside there, and I want to incorporate these two right angles, and that'll help hold the acrylic in. Make this really runny to start with. Make sure I get it all deep in there. No air bubbles. And you can actually take a piece of wire if you wanted to. Wet it with some monomer. I'm going to stick it right there. Just try to ferret out any kind of bubbles that are in there. And I'm actually going to go up the tooth a bit, mainly because the advantage of being class 3 is there's not going to be any teeth hitting lingually behind this tooth that you have to compensate for. So let me put a little powder to freeze it. Yep, some came through. That's perfect. Filled in that little gap that I had there. Again, that she had a lot of bone resorption, or actually, no bone because of the cleft palate. So I'm going to form that a little bit. Let's see, let me get a knife here. Okay, Frank, that was what I was talking about. Yeah, to me, it's just, you could, I guess, if you wanted to. I just found it easier just to go straight into sprinkling. One thing you got to be considerate of going straight into sprinkling after soldering is you've heated up the model. So your acrylic's going to set a little bit faster. But again, this is just a tiny little button. Clean this up a bit. There we go. I'm happy with that. Alright, so I'm going to go put this in the pressure pot. Help if I turn on the air compressor. I'll be back. Alright, I'm back. Okay, that's it. I'll try to post some pictures on my blog or in the Patreon account. My blog is designerretainer.com. You can find it here. And I have a link to the live stream right here. I'll post some pictures in there when it's done, so you can see the end product. So keep an eye out for that. Other than that, I think that is it. Let me load up my outro here and get it ready to go. But that's it. Thank you for... Hi from Algeria. Cool. Fouad? Am I saying that right? Thank you all for joining. Thank you for chatting with me in the chat today. If you're a Patreon subscriber, I'm doing a little special series in my Patreon account where I'm actually working on my own teeth. I'm going to try to close that gap. And I go over why I have the gap, and we go over some specifics of what I'm going to do. So I'm going to be making my own retainer. So I have part 1 in there where I've actually reset the teeth, my own teeth, and so part 2 is coming up soon. I haven't set a date for it yet, but they'll be coming out soon. But until then, I hope you have a great day and happy wire bending, and I'll see y'all next week, next Thursday.